In today's conversation, I want to talk to you about hard work. Now, before you tune me out, I know that this is a hot button topic. I know a lot of social media influencers are talking about hard work. I know that there are a lot of personalities that will talk about how much everything is a grind, everything is hard work, and everything has to be done boom, boom, boom. And what they end up doing is just telling you all the things that they do throughout the day and how hard they work throughout the day, which I use air quotes because it's a whole ordeal. And they may have a different relationship with hard work than I do. But my goal is to provide a little bit of perspective because throughout my 20s, I had a bad relationship with work itself and hard work. I had an identity crisis where all of my identity was wrapped up in how much I could do and how my work reflected who I was. Not so much now as I'm a little bit older. And so I hope to impart a little bit of perspective. I also hope to challenge some thought process that I had in my 20s. So if you are there and you are beating yourself up saying, I could do so much more, I need to do so much more, this is for you. If you're in your 20s and you're saying, oh my gosh, I'm such a hard worker and I've done so much in my life, I deserve X, Y, and Z, this is also for you because the perspective is less about the work itself and more about our relationship to work and our relationship to why we work. And what constitutes as hard work. So let's jump in here. I always think when I'm talking about hard work, there's a proverb that I think a lot of people actually recognize because Alex Hormozy talks about it. Other people talk about it in the social media space. But the proverb is Proverbs 14:23. It says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. Now, I think we will agree, right, that we don't really respond well to people who we know for a fact that talk the talk but are not about that walk, right? When we recognize that somebody has this like big game that they talk about, social media people, right? It's a common thing where somebody will say like, yeah, this is all the stuff I do throughout the day, but really they don't do any of that stuff. They have teams that do it or whatever. We don't respond well. When we know that somebody is just talking, but they don't have anything to show for it, or they don't have anything to back up what they're saying, we just don't respond well to it because it's like, you say this, but your actions speak otherwise, right? Because actions speak louder than words. And that's why I think some people will get louder and louder and try to talk louder and louder because they know their actions are not talking loud enough. But there's a reason why we resonate with the stories or the movies of the underdog, right? We resonate with the athletes that come from nothing and they work extremely hard and they go through all these different hardships and overcome, and then they end up in a professional level. The NFL draft is going on this weekend, and by the time you listen to it, the NFL draft will be over. But there's all these narratives and all these stories of all these players that have sacrificed so much and worked extremely hard for not just months, years, but some of them a decade or more, have been solely determined and dreaming about the day that their name is called in the NFL draft and to be at a professional level on a professional football team. That is, it's been incredible. It's inspiring. We respond to those where we hear these stories and we're like, this is awesome. I hope this guy succeeds. It's why we watch football on Sundays or Thursdays or Mondays. We want to root for the players that we know a little bit about their story. We know that they've worked so hard. We want to see them succeed. And so we resonate with it, but I think sometimes we have this idea, right, about hard work where we will look at ourselves and we'll say, yeah, that's awesome that they did it. And we really like when they do it, but we kind of take that and we say, okay, so if I do this in my area of life, we're going to experience the same outcome, which in my life, I've worked a lot on certain things, but I haven't accomplished all the things that I set out to do. So I want to make sure that we have a proper perspective just of work in general. I think we respond to the idea of hard work because we want to know that if we dedicate ourselves to one specific thing, on the other side, we're going to end up reaching it, right? Whatever we go through, we're going to reach it at the end of the day. We want to know that we'll win. Like that's the simplest term, is we want to know that if we put all of this effort into something, that we will win. Hard work isn't about that. And that's what's really, really difficult. That's what took me a long time to learn. And it's still something that I struggle with because my identity was so wrapped up in the job that I do and the fact that I had every mantra in the book to say, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win, I'm going to win. But guess what? In a lot of those areas, I actually lost and my idea of work changed. So let's break down hard work. Before you get all depressed and before you tune out, I want to just break down hard work because my question is, what is hard work? What constitutes as hard work? You know, we talk about the phrase or the proverb, all hard work brings a profit. What does that even mean? What are we looking at here? So I actually Googled it. If you Google right now, what is hard work? The first thing that will pop up is the dictionary definition, a great deal of effort or endurance. That's the definition that pops up for hard work. A great deal of effort or endurance, which I think we would agree that that's a process of hard work. It's a lot of effort and a long time, right? You endure for a long time. It's endurance. But then there's a myriad of articles and books and opinions that people share throughout all sorts of, and if you just scroll down and click through and read some of those, it's wild, the amount of different opinions and different thoughts on hard work. It's something that people, I think, are drawn to because everybody wants to crack the code. How do I become successful? And most of the case, you're going to hear a response if you ask something, it's hard work. Okay, what does that mean though? What does hard work mean? And I'm not saying I disagree with all of the opinions or I agree with all the opinions or all the books or all the studies. I agree with a lot of them. But I kind of, in my mind, I started breaking down this proverb of all hard work brings a profit. What is all hard work? What does that constitute? So I want to break this down. First of all, when we're talking about work, all, in this proverb specifically, the word all is the Hebrew word kol, which translates to the whole or anything or everything. So anything and everything, the whole about it. That's what this verse, this proverb is talking about. When we start looking at hard work, it's the Hebrew word etsev, which means pain or hurt or toil or hardship, which kind of puts into perspective a little bit of different understanding when it comes to this proverb. All pain, all hardship brings a profit. Everything, any pain, any hardship brings a profit is what this proverb is saying. So any pain or toil or hurt brings a profit. Well, how does that make sense? Because I've gone through a lot of pain in my life. I've gone through a lot of things that hurt. I've gone through a lot of hardships. And it's not something that is, oh, woe is me. I've gone through so many things and it's my life is so hard. It's, dang, like there's a lot of things that I can guarantee that you've done in your life that were hard work. And I'm not talking about, oh, you just did a lot. I'm talking about you went through painful toil to see something through. Maybe you got a master's degree. Maybe you've got a doctorate's degree. Maybe you're just working to be the first one in your family to get a degree. Maybe you're the first one in your family to graduate high school or graduate college, or maybe you're just pursuing an extremely difficult career choice. And it's hard work. You leave the day thinking, this is like, I'm just beaten and torn and today hurt. Maybe you're trying to be a professional athlete and you physically are beat up like these guys from the NFL draft. They go through rigorous training and games through college and high school, and they just get the snot beaten out of them over and over and over, but they learn and they grow and they build. And more often than not, hard work leads us into these difficult and painful areas of life that tests our abilities to be humble enough to learn from others, as well as strengthens us to be strong enough to endure it, right? We have to be able to endure it. And hard work, what it actually ends up doing is it becomes less about what we do and it becomes more about who we are. When somebody says you're a hard worker, it's not just you did a job well and you worked really hard on that. Because I know a lot of times where I did a lot at work, but it wasn't hard. It was actually really easy. And somebody was like, oh my gosh, like you worked really hard on that. I was like, no, I really didn't. The phrase work smarter, not harder. There are sometimes just more intelligent ways of doing a job. And so sometimes what may seem really difficult to somebody else is actually really simple for you. And so you go through these moments where sometimes it's not hard and you did work on it. But it's the moment where you actually it leads you into that painful moment, right? The moments where you have to ask for help, the moments where you have to trust somebody else. Those are the moments of hard work. That's where I find it's most often where we expand our horizons or expand our perspectives of work itself, right? Because we no longer can just say, oh yeah, I got this. It's no problem. No, we leave the end of the day of work and we say, oh my gosh, I am in so much pain. This is hard. And one of my favorite phrases is hard things are hard. That's why they're called hard things. And the reason why it's one of my favorite things is because it reminds me that hard work and hard things in life, it's not just you did something difficult, kudos. It's not you did something difficult, therefore you deserve X, Y, or Z. It's you did something difficult and became better because of it. You did something difficult and it changed your perspective of you went from I don't think I can do this or I know I can't do this to now I know I can. Your perspective changed, which gives you confidence to say to the next thing, I don't know how to do this. But I know that last time I said that, I changed my mind. And so you might step into hard work, which is going to lead you into that difficult and painful area where you have to humble yourself and say, okay, I don't know how to do this. Please teach me. Or it leads you into that area of life where you say, I'm not strong enough to do this by myself. I need some help. Can you help me through this moment in life? And I see this all the time. And I saw it in my 20s where I would go through things and I would say, nope, I'm a hard worker. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to do it on my own. I'm going to do it myself so that at the end of the day, I can say, nope, I did it all by myself. Guess what? I failed every single time when it came to the hard work and the hard things that were uncomfortable and painful. And I ended up quitting a lot of those things that I tried to do on my own. And I don't want you to do that because you're probably pursuing something really important and really awesome and really good for you. I think a lot of us know the healthy things about who we are. I think a lot of us understand how we pursue a life and how we work, and we have an idea of good work and hard work, and we can do it. But I don't think we always have the, I would say, humility to simply ask somebody for help. Hey, can you help me? I don't know how to do this. Teach me how to do this so I can grow and build and work hard on this. And it's painful right now. And so it's interesting because we go through and it's all about the grind and it's all about hard work. But the question is, why do we do it? Why put yourself through all of that? If it's all pain, if all pain or all hardship is what we're going for, why? It's because there's a profit. But what's that profit look like? because I can tell you, I've done a lot of hard work and it doesn't feel like profit at the end of it. I'm not rich as can be. I don't have a bunch of cash. I don't have a bunch of things. Where's my profit? And this is where I have to continue to break down the proverb. The Hebrew word for profit is mothar, and that translates to preeminence. It does translate to plenty and abundance, but its closest translation is superiority. The profit of your pain, of any and every pain, any and every labor or hardship or toil, any and every bit of it leads to preeminence, superiority. That's the profit, right? The preeminence, the definition of preeminence is the fact of surpassing all others, pretty much equaling superiority. Kobe Bryant comes to mind because he's a great example of this. And go with me here for a second, because Kobe Bryant is one of those people, just as a universal hardworking celebrity, an athlete, that I think across the board everybody would agree that he outworked his talent, right? He wasn't the most talented, but he became ruthlessly focused on the work. He painfully sacrificed years of his life. And when I talk about sacrificing, he would be up at 4 a.m, 5 a.m, 3 a.m, training in the off season. His off days were not off days. He would still train. He was known to put up anywhere from 500 to 1,000 basketball shots a day on the daily, regardless of whether it was a game day or an off day. Like he was ruthlessly focused on training and working, and he would work so hard because it would be painful. He would do 2 hours of basketball skills a day. He would do 2 hours of lifting a day, and then he would do 2 hours of cardio. I can't tell you the last time I did 2 hours of cardio unless you count golfing and walking, because I walked 18 holes, which is 4 hours. So yeah, I guess I can tell you the last time I did 2 hours of cardio, if that counts. But I'm not trying to toot my own horn here. I'm just saying it was extremely difficult, like laborious. It was hard, painful. The next day, I was in pain because I did all of that walking. I had a lot of fun because I love golf, and walking and hitting the golf ball, there's just something that's therapeutic about it. You get out in nature, you get out your head, and I'm going on a tangent or whatever. I digress. We go back to Kobe. But this is what I think is very unique about Kobe, is he wasn't the most talented, but his hard work brought him into a superior light. He was superior in the NBA because while other people were training, yes, they were training. They were not training as much as him. They weren't sacrificing. They weren't hurting as much as Kobe. They were going out and enjoying life, and they were focused on comfort. Kobe embraced the pain of that training. He embraced the pain of what he knew was not fun. It wasn't easy. And it wasn't something that you walk away from and say, yeah, cool, I did that. No, he walked away from it saying, I don't know if I'm good enough still. Like, I need to keep doing this. I need to do it more. I need to do it more. I need to do it more. Not because it was easy, but because it was hard. And because he knew that as he did that, superiority in that realm of life would come. Now, you may say, I don't want to have a superiority complex. I don't want to be seen as somebody who's superior. Yes, you do. That's the profit. It's what we do in life in general, right? We want to be better at something. If you want a specific job, then you want to be superior in the skills that it takes to do that job. You want to be so superior that when you apply for the job, they look at all the candidates and you are the only one who has the most skills. You are superior out of your other candidates that are applying for the job. We sometimes think of it as arrogance, but hard work and having a healthy and a better perspective and a better relationship now in my life, I understand that hard work gives me confidence, not arrogance. It also gives me superiority that is not something that I flaunt. It's not something that I go, yeah, I'm way better than you. No, hard work speaks for itself. When you work really, really hard for long periods of time, we already know that the definition, right? A great deal of effort or endurance. That's what Webster's dictionary or dictionary.com or whatever Google uses, but that's what it says. We know that when you do that, it provides a next level superiority. You actually become more enabled. You become stronger and you become healthier and you become capable of doing it, right? It's so unique. And that's why I think that when you look at hard work, it has to become less about what you do or how much you do, and it has to become more about who you are. I do want to hit this home though, because what some people are going to hear is I just need to do more. That's not the case. And what some people are going to do is they're going to say, that's not me though. Because what I've realized as well is I am really good. I am superior when it comes to any of the things that I choose to do throughout the day. And you get superiority in those areas. I'm going to break it down to you like this. If you really want to excel at anything in life, then you just need to do that on a daily basis. So anything and everything that you do on a daily basis, you're going to get more and more talented, or maybe not talented, but you're going to get better and better at it. So if you choose to sleep in every single day and you say, nah, I'll do it later in life. If you are practicing sleeping in, guess what? You're going to get better and better and better at sleeping in. If you'll convince yourself, I'm not a morning person, because you've chosen it over and over and you've practiced over and over. No, I don't wake up. I stay up late. And I'm not going to wake up early. You'll convince yourself, I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. I think anybody can react different. And there are some people who just get more done at night. And I understand that. But if that's not what you want, right? If you want to be somebody who wakes up in the morning, if you are like, I want to wake up, I want to get things done, I want to work out, I want to do these things, then you have to start choosing those things. If you choose to live an unhealthy lifestyle, you're going to become superior at it. Like, you're just going to become superior among the unhealthy. If you continually choose, nope, I'm not going to get up. I work from home, so I don't need to leave the house. I'm just going to DoorDash food to myself. I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to get sunlight. I'm not going to move around. Guess what? You will get superior at that. And when people who are unhealthy see you, they're going to be like, man, I want the life that they have, because they're choosing that unhealthy thing too. So you have to be you have to have the perspective of, if you are practicing something, right? Anything that you're practicing, you will get better and better at it, because that can be painful too. That can be hard work sometimes to say, you know what? I'm not going to do that. It's interesting because we teach ourselves that hard work is only when you're doing something good, but we don't always recognize that hard work can also be choosing something bad or something not healthy. It could be hard work to eat a box of donuts, right? It may taste great, but it's painful sometimes, right? It could be hard work to eat an entire pizza or 2 pizzas at that. It could be painful, right? You could be sitting there saying, my stomach, right? But that will only lead to an unhealthy lifestyle. Now, if you do it every once in a while, I'm not going to knock you. I love pizza, and I definitely can house an entire pizza, which is like 56 grams of protein. So depending on what your goals are, however, it's a lot of calories. So just make sure that it's in your weekly calorie count. But we need to understand that saying yes to one thing is the same as saying no to another. And a lot of people know the right thing to do in their lives. A lot of people know how to, what to do to get the life that they want, but they don't realize that every time they say yes to procrastination or yes to something unhealthy, they're saying no to the life that they want, the life they actually want. And they don't realize that they're the ones who are actually gatekeeping the good from them, because every time they say yes, oh, I'll just have a little bit, or I'll just have it one night. I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to break my fast. I'm going to break my diet. I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to say yes to that because it'll be fun. They continue to say no to those things. And I've done this in my life over and over and over again. And I tell you from experience, I'm not trying to beat you over the head. I'm trying to encourage you. I've told myself, okay, from this week to this week, I am going to, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to eat over my calorie count, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to work out every day. And then I wake up and I say, I'm not really feeling it today. And I say no to the life that I want, because I know that if I do it, if I commit for a week or two, I know that I'm going to achieve the goals or the excitement or the things that I'm going to do. I've done this so many times in my life, whether it's school or work or friendships or just being social, right? I want to go out and I want to go visit things. I want to do this, or I want to go on vacation this year. Then I keep saying yes to, all the other things, right? Oh, yes to DoorDash, yes to this, yes to that, yes to buying the newest toy, yes to going out with friends, and yes to spending money on things that I don't need to, and yes to doing this. And then all of a sudden I look back and I say, oh, I can't afford to go on that vacation I really wanted to go on. I can't afford to do that because I said yes to all these small things, and it's impacted the larger things in the areas that I've actually wanted to do. So one of the things that I'm trying to focus on this year is just simply recognizing what I say yes to. And when it comes to, oh, I'm saying yes to this, which means it's going to be a no to something in the future, I'm not going to be able to have the cash to do X, Y, or Z. I need to recognize that, ooh, this costs a little bit more than just, yeah, sure. It's fine. It's $10. Yeah, it's fine. It's $15. Yeah, it's fine. It's $20. All of a sudden it adds up when you're looking at $50, $60, $70. And when you start adding all of those things that you said yes to, then you realize, oh, shoot, like I could have paid for a vacation. I could have paid for a new set of golf clubs. I could have paid for X, Y, or Z. I could have paid off debt. There's so many things that you can do that are revolved around the yeses and the nos. Now, how does this pertain to hard work? It's because if we're talking about all pain, all hardship brings a profit. If you want to become superior in a certain aspect of work or life, then you have to start making those choices that are painful, even though you don't want to. Nope, I can't go out. I have to wake up early. Nope, I can't lay in bed. I can't sleep when I want to. I can't do the things that make me feel comfortable or confident or however you want to look at it. You can't always choose those things. You have to recognize that you saying yes to those other things is saying no to the pain and saying no to the work that it takes to get where you want to be. And you have to learn how to embrace that. Like Kobe Bryant embraced the pain, embraced the training and sacrifice that it took to become superior in the NBA. If you want to become superior in a work or a career or the life that you live, and when I say that, even me, I have this in the back of my head where I'm like, I don't like the sound of that. Like superior, ew, no, I don't want to be cocky, and I don't want to be arrogant. I don't want a complex that says I'm superior. That's not what I'm talking about. And I have to remind myself that a healthy view of hard work, it's not about saying anything. It's not about saying, oh yeah, I'm superior, I'm better, I'm awesome. It's about letting the work speak for itself, where you say, no, can you help me? Because I don't know how to do this and I want to learn. And eventually you get to the point where people are saying, hey, can you help me? I want to do this. I want to learn. And they're asking you because they view you as superior. You know how to do this. I don't. Please help. Is an essence in itself. It's a reflection of you being superior. And it's a good thing. I think we all should strive to have that preeminence. We all should strive for that profit, because sometimes it's not a bag of cash that we're getting. Sometimes it's not a specific job that we're getting. It's the skills that we have throughout the way. I love Alex Hormozy talks about, it says it like this: the work works on you more than it works, more than you work on it. So the work works on you more than you work on the work. Because as you develop, it becomes more of who you are and less about what you do or what job you have, because you're just that person who's saying, nope, I'm putting in the time, effort, I'm sacrificing, I'm learning, I'm getting better, I'm humble about it, I'm learning from other people, I'm gaining strength because I've done it for a long period of time. And what that does is it develops that superiority, not a complex. You don't need to flaunt this. It means that you just get better and better at it. And I think we don't like the word superior, or at least I don't like the word superior, but the healthy perspective of hard work is it just naturally makes you superior. And that's a good thing. You want to be superior. You want to be the best at it, right? It's the same phrase, just a different word. You want to be the best? You got to become superior. In order to embrace the difficult side, right? You embrace the pain, like Kobe Bryant embrace the pain. One of the things that I've learned in the perspective and the relationship that I have with work, it's changed over the years. I used to think that I literally used to think that I was such a hard worker. I mean, in my 20s, at a young age, I mean, even all the way back to when I was like 13, I was mowing lawns, like mowing neighbors' lawns, and I had a job. And then I started working at 15 and lifeguarding at 15. And at one point, I think I was 16 years old, and I think I was working like 55, 60 hours between lifeguarding and working in a restaurant. And it's interesting because as I learned from all of that, it kind of messed with my mind, where I thought, oh, I'm doing a lot, therefore I'm such a hard worker. I'm doing so much work, I'm awesome. Not true. My identity was in that I was doing a lot because nobody around me was really visibly doing that at my age. So I would look at people my age and I'm like, I'm superior to you. And I had that complex of I'm doing more, therefore I'm better. It's not always true. It's not true at all, in fact, because I went through years where my identity was just in doing more than others rather than doing quality work. So I could do a lot, but sometimes I would kind of shave a little bit off here or there and try to, shave the edges and cut corners. And I wasn't the best worker. I did do a lot of work. And in a lot of cases, I did do quality work, but there were quite a few times when it was not quality, but I just wanted to be seen as somebody who did a lot. So I did a lot all through my 20s. And I remember saying like, wow, I'm a hard worker. I've accomplished a lot. And now I look back in my older age and I have a completely different perspective. Like my relationship and perception of hard work has changed to the point where what I once thought was like a lot of work or hard work, I now am like, it's child's play. Like it's so dumb. Like it's so silly. At the time it didn't feel like it, but it's silly. And the reason why I think that is because me in my 20s had not gone through all of the pain and the hardships that I've gone through now. the pain I went through in my 20s was little or less compared to the pain I dealt with in my late 20s or my early 30s. And the pain I dealt with in my early 30s to where I'm at now in my mid 30s is way more than I had dealt with even in my late 20s. And there's this pain and this anguish, and there's this perspective of, oh my gosh, what I thought was hard work then is nothing. Like, I can do that in my sleep now because of the style of growth that has happened. Now, if you're in your 20s, please don't hear me and think, oh, none of the stuff you're doing matters. It's child's play. It's weak. No, that's not what I'm saying. In fact, what I'm saying is my perspective has changed. Your perspective will change. What you need to do is you need to have a healthy understanding that you have to be able to ask for help. I didn't ask for help all the time. I had a arrogant mindset of saying, well, I can do this on my own and I'm just going to power through because I'm a hard worker, quote unquote. But I would oftentimes do things, I would do a lot of work that wasn't hard for me. I would do a lot of things that came naturally easy. They didn't cause pain. And I would go through these moments and think, oh my gosh, I've done all this stuff, but I don't really have a ton to show for it. I don't have a ton of skills to show for it. I don't have a ton of aspect. And one of the things that I learned was the profit that I got from that, the superiority that I got from it was the recognition that I actually didn't have skills. Like I became superior in looking busy and talking the talk, but not walking the walk. And I had to learn how to redevelop those skills. And that became really difficult because it was at a later age that I went back to school. And it was at a later age that I had to go through things that I could have gone through when I was younger and I could have learned, but I didn't. And I had become really good at talking the talk, but I couldn't walk the walk. And I don't want you to do that. If you're in your late teens or young 20s, I want you to understand that the next time that you feel like the world is collapsing around you, no matter what area of your life, but if it's an assignment or a project or a job that you're working on, or something that you're doing in your life that is leaving you with the essence of, I can't do this. This hurts. I want to quit. This is it. This is proof that you are working hard. This is proof that you are developing those skills. This is proof that you will look back on this moment and say, I made it. If you can just endure it a little bit longer, if you can just not quit, like so many people do, like so many times I did in my 20s. If you just don't quit and you say, nope, I know that this is hard and I know that this hurts. I know that it's going to bring a profit. You're building skills that will make you superior in the areas that you want to be superior, the areas that you're working. If you are working on a project and it's like, this is so hard, why does it matter? It's not the project that matters. It's not the subject that matters. If you're taking a math class and it's hard and your brain is shrinking and just turning into mush, like it's just being sucked into a black hole, and you say, why am I ever going to use this? It has nothing to do with math. It has everything to do with your ability to do something hard that's uncomfortable. Because later in life, you're not going to say, oh, I remember this calculus equation. Later in life, you're going to look back and you're going to remember, I remember doing that difficult thing that I didn't want to do. In fact, I hated, and it meant nothing to my future. But now I'm working in a job, and this relationship with this specific person is a network into the job I really want, and they want me to do this stupid thing that I don't want to do. But the relationship is more important than the actual object, and I need to be able to have the mental capacity to say, all right, we're just going to power through and endure it, and it's hard, but I'm going to do it, not because of whatever it is, but because if you do it well, this networking and this person is going to be able to say, they're a hard worker. They did this job. It was like a mundane job, or it was a stupid job. It was something that didn't matter, but they did it really well. If they're responsible with that, they're going to be responsible with the other job. You have no idea why I cannot. I wish I could. There are so many times in my life where I look back on the attitude that I had, whether it was in school or class or things where I was like, why does this matter? This is stupid. This is so dumb. But I did it anyway, and I got through it. And there were so many cases that I just completely half-assed, and I completely was like, I'm not even going to put effort into this because it's not going to impact me. Guess what? The more I said yes to slacking off there, the more I said no to the hard work and doing the painful thing of doing a good job in it. And it reflected later in my life. And now I look back on so many aspects and so many areas of my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, like where I am at now is a culmination of having to learn and then relearn moments that I really should have learned that first time when I was doing that math test that I knew wouldn't matter, that I was doing that English essay that I knew wouldn't matter in life. But now I look back and I'm like, actually it did, because I trained myself that it's okay to half-ass certain things. It's okay to not give full effort on some things. It's okay to say no to the things that are super painful. And what it did was it bled into the other areas of my life. So at work, when I would have an opportunity for a good connection and they would say, hey, can you do that? I would respond, that's not my job. And it would put a rift in the relationship of somebody who could have gotten me where I wanted to go. But because I responded in that way, they never looked at me the same. Because I said, it's not my job, even though I very well could have done it. Yeah, it would have been difficult and probably painful and hard, but I responded, no, I don't want to do that. It's not my job. And the people who could have gotten me to the future that I was hoping for and dreaming about and wanting to and quote unquote striving for, those were the very people that I shut off because of my attitude and because I wasn't willing to do hard work. There was a time when I was doing grand openings for Panera, and I have this incredible friend that I worked with on one of the openings, and he used to talk about one of his bosses. He would always have this phrase, walk with purpose. Everything you do, walk with purpose. And that phrase stuck with me over the years. And I remember there were moments, especially in my later 20s, when I was starting to turn this corner and my relationship with hard work started changing, where I would run into moments of, why does this matter? And I would hear in the back of my head, walk with purpose. Micah was his name, and he would just say it. And I would hear it in the back of my head. And every time I would say, why does this matter? I'd hear Micah say, walk with purpose. And all of a sudden it would just come back to me. It doesn't matter why. It doesn't matter if it matters. My purpose is to do it in this moment. And that purpose would get me through it, and I would endure it, and it would be hard, and sometimes I would have to ask for help and say, I don't know how to do this, but I have to do this, whether it was a class or an assignment or a project or even friendships and things that I had to help with. I had a purpose, and when I finally got over it and I finally just did it and endured through that, whatever it was, whether it was a project or assignment, my purpose was not to just accomplish the assignment. It was to build the mental fortitude and the strength it takes and complete the painful process to be able to become that person that I needed to be. Because all of those things led me and created this resolve and a relationship with hard work to now I wake up in the morning and there are mornings when I say, I don't want to do it. I really don't want to do it. And there are times when I succumb to it. And later in the day, I'll even have a conversation with myself. I said yes to sleeping in, which means I said no to the body I want, or the health I want, or the consistency I want, the future that I want. I said no to it, which puts it in perspective. If you start recognizing what you're saying yes to, it helps you recognize what you're also saying no to. So the next time that you find yourself completely physically worn out, or mentally or emotionally worn out, and you get home from work and you slump down on the couch and you're like, I don't want to do it again tomorrow. This is it. This is the moment. This is the proof that you are working hard and developing the skills that it's going to take, and the superiority, it will shine through. All hard work brings a profit. All pain, any and every pain or hardship that you go through will bring superiority in that area. You will get better and better and better at it because of it. And your attitude matters. So next time you have that, if you're able to just not quit and you're able to endure it a little bit longer and keep going and not quit like all the other people do throughout life, you're going to come out the other side and you're going to see the profit from that moment. I really appreciate you for listening to this podcast. I hope that each and every one of you have a wonderful rest of your week. If this is a conversation that you feel like spoke to you, I'd really appreciate a comment, whether on social media, if you reach out to me on Instagram, or like, comment, subscribe on YouTube. We're also on Spotify and iTunes. I'd really appreciate it if you would share this as well. Maybe there's people in your life that could use a proper perspective or a better perspective of their hard work. They're just beating themselves up saying, there's so much more I could do, or there's so much more I have to offer, or maybe they just don't have a good relationship with work. I hope that you'll share this with them. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that this week brings you joy and excitement. I hope you work really hard. I hope you embrace the pain. And even on the days where you say, I don't want to do this, you get up and you say, nope, I'm going to say yes to the future that I want. And I'm going to say no to the comfort that's only momentary. Remember, it's only momentary. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Remember to give grace, show love, and as always, stay stellar. Peace.